I didn't know how to draw snow with alcohol markers. Are you struggling with winter scenes too? Let's draw a Winterberry branch covered in snow together, and I will share how I went from tutorials to my own sketch. I barely ever draw winter, and during the holidays I wanted to draw a winter theme. I tried and I failed. So I did tutorials. I followed several step-by-step lessons. So the first two tutorials were about how to draw frost. And here is a dog rose covered with frost. I went a bit too heavy with my white Posca markers here, but overall I'm quite happy with how it turned out. And then there is the sleeve, also frosty, and this time I was a bit more conservative with acrylic paint. I guess I became too confident because of my success with the dog rose and with the leaf. So I did my own work, but it didn't turn out that well. Looking at my drawing now, I see that it was just too much for my skill level. I picked a super complex reference photo, and I just failed to capture the shapes correctly. And I overdid the frost here too. It was such a beautiful reference photo. I didn't save it, unfortunately, but just trust me. Then I did something much simpler. I found this Winterberry branch reference and I decided to draw it. And that's when I noticed a difference. So the process felt less stressful. And I'm somewhat happy with this drawing. And then I did two more tutorials, now with the snow. And I loved how they turned out. I was just super happy about how easy it actually was to draw snow. Okay, I know that there are professionals who can draw hyper-realistic snow. But for me, this was already some damn good progress, okay? And here, with this drawing, my marker just ran out of ink. At this point, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do one more sketch of my own, but with snow now. And so for this video, I prepared a few reference photos. Initially, I wanted to draw these leaves, but now I think they're kind of boring. So I will draw the Winterberry branch again, but this time with some snow. And as I draw, I will talk a bit about my learnings. So I'm starting with the pencil sketch and the basic shape of the branch and the berries. And here is my first lesson. Lena, you need to pick a reference that is skill appropriate. So with that first leaf, with a very complex shape, I tried to add too much complex stuff too soon for me. No wonder I failed, honestly. And now with a simpler reference, with this branch, drawing feels already less stressful. By the way, I'm keeping the branch simple and not overcomplicating it in my drawing. I will also skip the background details. So now I'm adding some snow on top of the branch, just to practice what I've learned in the tutorials. And here is my second lesson. Lena, you don't have to draw all of the elements and follow the reference exactly. As an artist, I'm in full control and I can choose what to draw and what to include into my drawing. I want to outline the drawing with colored pencils because the graphite can, clog the brush nibs and eventually can ruin them. And now I need to lighten the pencil sketch a bit because the colored pencils can kind of trap the graphite and it can still show through pencils and even through markers. But back to my learnings. I think it's great to do tutorials, especially if I have some goal in mind. Like, I want to learn how to draw winter scenes, like frost, snow, and so on. And I do tutorials quite often to save myself some time, because I don't have to figure out everything by myself. And now I'm ready to color. And I want to get rid of some pencil lines to keep my sketch clean. So these are the colors I will need. And by the way, you can find the color palettes and the link to the swatches in the description box. So the berries will be my main color accent here. They will be bright red. And I will go from light orange red to medium red and then dark red to create some dimension. As you can actually see, I didn't draw all of the berries and leaves that the reference photo had. And again, that was one of my misconceptions when I just, started learning how to draw. I really thought that I had to draw the reference exactly the way it was. You can imagine it just didn't go well. And I was always so frustrated about it because I didn't like my sketches or my drawings. They were so busy with all the tiny little details. By the way, if you enjoy beginner art processes just like this one, hit that like and subscribe buttons. Thank you! And now the branch. I make the top of it lighter as it's closer to the light source. I don't really know if the part in the middle, should be all dark because it's under the snow, but I would imagine that snow should still reflect some light. So I keep it lighter too. I guess that's still TBD for me to discover. As for the colors of the leaves, I chose more muted colors, even though that's not their color in the reference photo. And that was another lesson I had to learn. I don't have to pick exactly the same colors that I see in the reference. Earlier in my art journey, I would definitely choose brighter and more intense colors, and they would compete with each other. With this drawing, I focus more on the overall feeling than on realism. And so, regarding the tutorials, after I do a step-by-step lesson, I always do my own work to practice. I find it super important because unless I do my own artwork in the same technique, I don't really learn the skill. At least I don't feel like this. And this is basically what I'm doing in this video now. Now, I want to add a few kind of dry patches to the leaves because if you look at the photo real close, you will see there are some dry spots on the leaves under the frost. By the way, leaves are my kryptonite. I don't really know why, but I'm really struggling with leaves always. That's one of the things I hate drawing the most. They just never look good in my drawings. Now, background time. I'm gonna cover the background because I cannot draw the snow without the background. And this is a brand new marker. I hope it will not bleed. I've had a couple of Windsor&newton markers that were too full and they bled and even left some splotches on my work. I think I had at least 3 markers like this. Yes, you can see it's super juicy. Unfortunately, Windsor&newton has a very limited color selection for brush markers, and this color is only available as a bullet and chisel nib marker. And I love the color a lot. It's like this blue-gray, but with more blue, if that makes sense. Okay, I want to do one more layer because the background is patchy. Now I can do the snow. Pretty much the secret is to draw shadows with a light gray marker. All of the heavy lifting is done by the background. It creates this nice contrast, so the white just pops. And I will introduce a bit of a darker color to the bottom layers of the snow, but just a bit. Technically, from what I've read, I should also add reflections from the berries to the snow. But honestly, I'm just a bit too scared to add red. I will leave it like this for now. One step at a time. Come on, let's not push it. Okay, this drawing isn't perfect, but compared to where I started, like complete zero, I think that's solid progress. Oh, and I almost forgot about the dark dots on the berries. Let's fix it now. I used the darkest brown color that I used for the branch because I don't want to introduce a new color, especially such a strong color as black. And now let's finish with some details. So I will outline the berries with a white pencil because, they have this kind of frosty cover in the reference photo. And plus it will help me separate, the berries from each other a bit more. And I want to add some gentle highlights. So I want to use this acrylic pen to add snow and frost to the leaves, but I know it will be just, too bright, so I'm gonna add some of it to the snow too. Kind of to pull all the parts of the drawing together. I am very careful with paint because I remember from my previous attempts that there is such a thing as too much white paint. Also, I'm adding some white pencil to the leaves. It should indicate the frost on the vines, but I try to keep it simple. Because, first of all, I'm not really sure if it will look good if I add more. And this is my winter sketch with a snow study. I really like how it turned out. Thank you so much for following my progress and for drawing with me. Ciao!